Ethan's solitary existence continued, each day blurring into the next like brush strokes on a canvas. He sought solace in the roar of his motorcycle, the world rushing past in a blur of color and sound, offering a momentary escape from his thoughts. The freedom he felt on the open road was intoxicating, yet the exhilaration quickly faded upon his return to the confines of his apartment, where silence enveloped him like a shroud. In the gym, Ethan threw himself into rigorous workouts, pushing his body to its limits. The clanking of weights and the rhythmic thud of his feet on the treadmill became his daily anthem, drowning out the voices of doubt and despair. Each drop of sweat was a testament to his determination to rebuild himself, even as memories of Jessica haunted him like shadows in the corners of his mind. Mark remained a steadfast friend, refusing to let Ethan slip too far into darkness. "You need to get out, man. Life's too short to be cooped up here," he'd insist, dragging Ethan along on spontaneous adventures. They'd hit bars, restaurants, and even take weekend trips, but no matter where they went, the ghost of Jessica loomed large, a silent reminder of the life he once had. One Friday evening, Ethan's phone buzzed with a call from Tom. "Hey, Ethan. It's been ages. Let's grab dinner," he suggested, his tone cheerful and inviting. Ethan hesitated for a moment, the mention of Tom rekindling memories of their shared past. He finally agreed, hoping that reconnecting might ease the heaviness in his heart. At the restaurant, the atmosphere was lively, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Tom was in good spirits, animatedly recounting his latest escapades. Ethan laughed, but beneath the surface, an undercurrent of unease churned. When Tom casually mentioned Jessica, a familiar rage bubbled up within him. "Jessica's been hanging out with some new friends. She seems to be doing well," Tom said, his tone light. Ethan clenched his fists under the table, his heart pounding. "That's great," he managed, his voice tight. Memories of betrayal flooded back, the anger simmering just beneath the surface. As the night wore on, Ethan struggled to keep the conversation flowing, forcing a smile while feeling a storm brewing inside him. The mention of Jessica had unearthed wounds he thought were healing, and he couldn't shake the feeling of resentment that followed him home. In search of a fresh perspective, Ethan wandered into a local art gallery one sunny afternoon. The vibrant colors and creative expressions drew him in like a moth to a flame. As he roamed the aisles, captivated by the artistry, he felt a spark of inspiration igniting within him. It was there that he met Sam, a passionate artist whose laughter seemed to fill the space around her. They struck up a conversation, sharing their thoughts on the pieces that adorned the walls. Sam's enthusiasm for life was infectious, and Ethan found himself drawn to her warmth. They bonded over a shared love for art and the freedom it represented, their discussions becoming a refuge from the weight of his past. As the weeks passed, Ethan and Sam began to spend more time together, exploring galleries, attending art shows, and even painting together. With each encounter, Ethan felt the burden of his heart lifting, but shadows of his past lingered. He found himself grappling with the remnants of his feelings for Jessica, the betrayal still fresh in his mind. Despite his blossoming connection with Sam, Ethan couldn't help but feel torn. Sam represented a fresh start, yet the memories of Jessica crept into his thoughts, whispering doubts that clouded his newfound joy. As the nights grew longer and their friendship deepened, Ethan knew he had to confront his past in order to fully embrace the potential of a new beginning. But every time he tried to shake the memories of Jessica, they came rushing back, haunting him like ghosts in the night. One evening, as he sat with Sam in a cozy cafe, sipping coffee and discussing their dreams, Ethan felt a pang of guilt wash over him. He was captivated by Sam's spirit and the way she brought light into his life, yet the shadows of his past loomed large. "What are you thinking about?" Sam asked, her eyes searching his face. Ethan hesitated, the words caught in his throat. "Just life, I guess. Trying to figure things out." "Life can be messy," she replied, a soft smile gracing her lips. "But it's also beautiful. We have to embrace both." Her words struck a chord within him, igniting a flicker of hope amidst his turmoil. Yet, as he looked into her eyes, he couldn't shake the fear of what revealing his past might cost him. Would she understand? Would she still want to be around him if she knew the truth? As days turned into weeks, Ethan found himself at a crossroads. He could either confront the pain that lingered in his heart or allow it to sabotage his chance at happiness with Sam. The internal battle raged on, a war between the desire for revenge and the yearning for redemption. Then came the day that changed everything. Ethan received a tip from a mutual friend that Tom was indeed dating Jessica. The news struck him like a lightning bolt, reigniting the flames of his anger and betrayal. The familiar fury coursed through him, a raw and visceral response that left him breathless. That night, as he lay in bed, the revelation haunted him. Images of Jessica and Tom together filled his mind, fueling a growing desire for retribution. He felt the walls closing in, and in that moment, a plan began to form, one that would take him down a dark path. In the depths of his pain, Ethan vowed to take control of his life. He began to craft a scheme to expose Tom and Jessica's relationship, determined to reclaim his narrative. Revenge became a flickering flame within him, a means of transforming his suffering into something tangible. But as he plotted his course, Ethan knew he stood at the precipice of a moral dilemma. Would the pursuit of vengeance truly heal his wounds, or would it only deepen the scars he already bore? And what of Sam, the light in his life? He was torn between the desire for revenge and the hope for a brighter future. As he stared out into the city skyline, the weight of his choices pressed heavily upon him. The battle within raged on, and Ethan knew he had to make a decision soon, a choice that would alter the course of his life forever. The tension in Ethan's chest tightened with each passing day as he prepared for what lay ahead. The revelation of Tom dating Jessica consumed his thoughts, gnawing at him like a persistent itch he couldn't scratch. He could feel the fire of anger stoked to a blaze, urging him to act. As the sun set one evening, casting long shadows across his apartment, he made a decision: he would confront them. The scene was set at a local bar, the kind of place that buzzed with life and laughter, yet felt like a stage for Ethan's personal drama. He arrived early, heart racing, and watched as people mingled, unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. When Tom and Jessica walked in, their laughter rang out like a mocking echo of the joy Ethan once knew. He took a deep breath and approached their table, the adrenaline surging through him. "Tom." "Jessica," he said, his voice steady but laced with barely contained fury. Both turned, surprise flashing across their faces. "Ethan." "Hey." Tom greeted, though his smile faltered at the sight of Ethan's rigid stance. Jessica's expression turned to one of guarded curiosity. "What are you doing here?" she asked, feigning innocence. Ethan clenched his jaw, the heat of betrayal boiling inside him. "I know about you too," he said, the words spilling out like venom. "You think this is a joke? You think I wouldn't find out?" The air crackled with tension, and a moment of silence stretched between them. Tom shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Jessica, who looked taken aback. "Ethan, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." Ethan interrupted, his voice rising. "You both betrayed me. You think I wouldn't feel the pain when I see you together?" Jessica's facade cracked, anger flaring in her eyes. "You don't get to dictate my life. You had your chance, Ethan." With those words, the dam inside Ethan broke. He lunged forward, fists clenched. Tom stood, a mixture of shock and defensiveness on his face. "This isn't helping anything, Ethan," he shouted. But it was too late. In a flurry of emotions, Ethan threw a punch, connecting with Tom's jaw. The bar erupted into chaos as people turned to watch the unfolding drama. Tom stumbled back, shock etched across his face, and a second punch followed, fueled by the fury that had simmered for too long. Jessica screamed, trying to separate them, but the adrenaline clouded Ethan's judgment. The confrontation escalated, fists flying and voices raised, drowning out the laughter and chatter around them. The fight ended abruptly as bar staff rushed in, pulling Ethan and Tom apart. The manager, a burly man with a commanding presence, intervened. "That's enough. Outside, now." Breathing heavily, Ethan found himself outside, the cool night air rushing over him as adrenaline surged through his veins. He felt a mix of triumph and regret, his heart pounding with the aftermath of violence. Tom followed, nursing his bruised jaw, and the confrontation shifted from physical to verbal. "What the hell was that, Ethan?" Tom snapped, his face contorted in anger. "You've lost your mind." Ethan, still reeling from the adrenaline, pointed a finger at Tom. "You're the one who should be ashamed. You think it's okay to just waltz back into my life with her? She's not yours anymore." Tom shot back, his voice rising. "You can't expect her to wait around while you sulk in your own misery." The truth of Tom's words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. "I'm done with this," he said, the fury beginning to dissipate, replaced by a hollow ache. He turned to leave, but Tom's voice stopped him. "Ethan, you need to let go. Holding on to this anger is just going to destroy you." As he walked away, those words echoed in his mind, mingling with the whirlwind of emotions he had unleashed. The confrontation had released a floodgate of pain, but it had also left him feeling more lost than ever. Ethan returned home, his heart heavy with the weight of the fight. He had vowed to take control, but now he was left with a mess of emotions and a deepening sense of emptiness. Revenge had only brought more chaos into his life, and he felt as if he were spiraling further from the man he wanted to become. In the days that followed, Ethan struggled with his emotions. He thought of Sam, the light she had brought into his life contrasting sharply with the darkness he had unleashed. Guilt consumed him. He had set out for revenge, yet the chaos had only deepened his wounds. When he met with Sam, he tried to put on a brave face, but the weight of his choices loomed over him. She could sense the change in him, the flicker of turmoil behind his eyes. "Ethan, what's going on? You seem different," she said, concern lacing her voice. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. How could he explain the turmoil he was facing? How could he admit to her the lengths he had gone to in his pursuit of revenge? "I've just been dealing with some stuff," he finally said, his voice strained. Sam nodded, but her eyes searched his face for answers. "You know I'm here for you, right? You don't have to go through this alone." Her kindness was a balm to his soul, yet it only intensified his inner conflict. He wanted to embrace the possibility of a future with her, but the shadows of his past loomed large. Every time he thought of their future, he was reminded of Jessica and the betrayal that still stung like an open wound. Ethan began to question his motivations. Would revenge truly heal his heart? Or would it only leave him more isolated, more lost? Sam represented a fresh start, but he couldn't shake the guilt that clung to him. Could he truly move on while harboring such dark intentions? As days turned into nights, Ethan grappled with his choices, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He felt trapped in a cycle of anger and regret, longing for the clarity that seemed just out of reach. Ultimately, Ethan knew he needed to confront the core of his pain. He realized that if he wanted to embrace a new beginning with Sam, he had to face the ghosts of his past, not just run from them. The battle within him raged on, but the flicker of hope began to shine brighter, urging him to choose a different path, a path toward healing and forgiveness. In the days following the confrontation, Ethan found himself mired in a tumult of conflicting emotions. The adrenaline had faded, leaving behind a heavy sense of regret. The fight had been cathartic in the moment, but now it felt like an albatross around his neck. He needed a plan, but not one driven by revenge alone. It was time to take a step back and think clearly. Determined to regain control of his life, Ethan hired a private investigator, Mark's suggestion echoing in his mind. Get the facts before you act, Mark had advised, and while Ethan had initially dismissed the idea, desperation pushed him to follow through. He wanted to know the full extent of Tom and Jessica's relationship, to understand the betrayal he had felt so deeply. Days turned into weeks as Ethan waited for updates. During this time, he tried to focus on his burgeoning relationship with Sam, but the shadows of his past still loomed large. Every time they laughed together, or when Sam shared her dreams of becoming a renowned artist, guilt washed over him. He felt unworthy of her affection, plagued by thoughts of what he was plotting behind her back. As he immersed himself in the details of the investigation, Ethan created a strategy to expose Tom and Jessica's affair. His heart raced at the thought of unveiling the truth, imagining the satisfaction it would bring. Yet, each new piece of information only added layers to his internal conflict. The more he learned, the more he questioned whether he truly wanted to go through with his plan. Ethan's mind was a battlefield. He often found himself reflecting on the implications of revenge, what it might cost him emotionally and morally. The thrill of revenge was intoxicating, yet the idea of hurting others, even those who had hurt him, left him feeling hollow. Late one night, as he stared at the city lights from his window, Ethan thought about Sam. She was a breath of fresh air in his otherwise tumultuous life. But he was hiding a part of himself from her, the darker, angrier part that had surfaced since the divorce. Would she still want to be with him if she knew the extent of his plans? Every time he and Sam spent time together, he felt a flicker of joy. Their connection was genuine, filled with laughter and shared dreams. But with every laugh, the specter of betrayal loomed larger. He found himself torn between the desire for revenge and the longing for a clean slate. One evening, while painting with Sam, he could no longer suppress the turmoil within him. "Sam, can I be honest with you?" he said, the weight of his emotions heavy in the air. "Of course," she replied, her eyes bright with curiosity. "I've been dealing with some intense feelings about my past. It's been hard to let go," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everyone has baggage," Sam said gently. "What matters is how we choose to deal with it." Her words hung in the air, a reminder that the past was just that, past. Yet, he still felt the weight of his anger threatening to pull him under. He wanted to move on, but the darker part of him yearned for retribution. The reveal. Eventually, the investigator returned with information that shook Ethan to his core. Tom and Jessica had not just started dating, they had been seeing each other while he and Jessica were still together. The news ignited a fresh wave of anger and betrayal, and for a moment, the desire for revenge surged within him like a tidal wave. But as he sat with the evidence, a gnawing sense of emptiness filled him. What would exposing them really achieve? Would it erase the pain he felt? Would it bring back the life he once had? After much deliberation, Ethan decided to leak the evidence, but not in a way that would devastate them publicly. Instead, he chose to share it with a close circle of friends and family who deserved to know the truth. The fallout was swift, the shock palpable among their friends. The truth rippled through their social circle, causing fissures in relationships that once seemed unbreakable. Ethan watched the consequences unfold from a distance, his heart heavy. He had achieved his goal, but the satisfaction he had anticipated never came. Instead, he felt a profound sense of loss, as if he had lost a part of himself in the process. As news spread, the fallout left Tom and Jessica reeling, and for a moment, Ethan felt a flicker of satisfaction. But that quickly faded, replaced by an overwhelming emptiness. He had transformed into the very thing he despised, a person who sought to hurt others out of anger and pain. In the aftermath, Ethan realized that while he had acted out of vengeance, the satisfaction he had craved was fleeting. He had exposed Tom and Jessica, yet the act of revenge did nothing to heal his own wounds. Instead, it left him feeling more alone than ever. In the days that followed, he sought solace in his time with Sam. She had been supportive throughout the ordeal, her kindness a soothing balm to his battered soul. One evening, as they walked through a park, he found the courage to open up to her about everything. "Sam, I need to tell you the truth about what happened," he began, his heart pounding. "I made some choices that I'm not proud of. I let my anger take over." She listened intently, her expression softening as he shared the details of his revenge plan and its aftermath. When he finished, he looked into her eyes, searching for judgment, but instead found understanding. "Ethan, we all make mistakes," she said gently. "What matters is that you recognize it and want to do better. You're not defined by your past." Her words resonated deeply within him. In that moment, he realized he had a choice: to embrace the possibility of a new beginning with Sam, free from the chains of his past. He chose to focus on their relationship, allowing himself to heal and grow. Ethan stood at the edge of a new chapter, reflecting on his journey. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but he had learned valuable lessons about forgiveness, both for himself and others. While he could never change the past, he could shape his future. As he and Sam planned a weekend trip together, Ethan felt a sense of hope blooming within him. They discussed destinations, their laughter echoing through the air, filling the spaces that once felt empty. "I can't wait to see where this journey takes us," Sam said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. For the first time in a long time, he felt the weight of his past lifting. He had chosen forgiveness over vengeance, and in doing so, had found a path toward healing. As they made plans, Ethan knew that while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of him, they no longer defined him. He had taken the first steps toward a brighter future, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of new beginnings. And with Sam by his side, he was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. In the aftermath of Ethan's decision to expose Tom and Jessica's affair, the consequences rippled through their social circle like a stone cast into still water. Friends gathered to discuss the unfolding drama, shock and disbelief etched on their faces. For Ethan, the satisfaction he had anticipated was overshadowed by a profound sense of emptiness. He watched as Tom and Jessica faced the fallout, their relationship crumbling under the weight of betrayal. While a part of him felt vindicated, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had crossed a line, one that he would never be able to uncross. Conversations with mutual friends became strained, alliances shifting as loyalties were tested. The dynamics of their circle had changed irreparably, and Ethan felt the burden of that responsibility heavy on his shoulders. Yet, amidst the chaos, Ethan found a surprising ally in Sam. She was there for him, offering support and understanding as he navigated the emotional turmoil. One evening, they sat together on her balcony, the city skyline twinkling in the distance. "Do you regret what you did?" she asked, her voice gentle. Ethan took a moment, considering his answer. "I thought it would bring me closure, but instead, it feels like I just opened another wound." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I thought exposing them would make me feel better, but it didn't. It just feels messy." Sam nodded, her gaze steady. "Sometimes, we think revenge will heal our wounds, but it often just creates more pain. You did what you thought was right in the moment, but it doesn't define who you are." Her words resonated deeply with him. In that moment, Ethan understood that while he couldn't change what had happened, he could choose how to move forward. He could acknowledge his mistakes and work toward a better version of himself. In the weeks that followed, Ethan focused on healing. He invested time in self-reflection, acknowledging the pain of betrayal but also the lessons he had learned. With Sam's unwavering support, he began to rediscover the parts of himself he had lost in the chaos of his divorce and the subsequent fallout. They spent their days exploring the city, visiting art galleries, and attending exhibitions. Sam introduced him to new artists, their discussions sparking a renewed passion for creativity within him. He found joy in expressing himself through painting, an outlet he hadn't realized he needed. With each stroke of the brush, he felt the burden of his past lighten, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. One afternoon, while they were painting together in the park, Ethan turned to Sam. "I want to thank you for being patient with me. I've been through a lot, and you've helped me see a way forward." Sam smiled, her eyes warm. "We all have our battles, Ethan. I'm just glad you're letting me be a part of your journey." As their bond deepened, Ethan began to envision a future untainted by his past. He realized that forgiveness, both for himself and for Tom and Jessica, was the key to moving forward. He chose to let go of the anger that had threatened to consume him, understanding that holding on to it would only hinder his growth. Months later, as Ethan and Sam stood together at an art show featuring their collaborative work, he couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Their paintings, vibrant and alive, reflected the journey they had taken together, a journey of healing, growth, and love. Looking around at the attendees, Ethan felt a profound sense of gratitude. He had learned that while the past could shape him, it didn't have to define him. With Sam by his side, he was ready to embrace the future. In a quiet moment, he turned to Sam and said, "I never thought I could feel this way again. Thank you for helping me find my way back to myself." Sam smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. You did the work, Ethan. You chose to heal, and that's what matters. As they stood there, surrounded by friends and art, Ethan knew that he had made the right choice. He had moved past the pain of betrayal and found a new beginning, one filled with hope and possibility. Together, he and Sam were ready to embrace whatever the future held, hand in hand, hearts open to the beauty of new experiences. And as they shared laughter and dreams amidst the vibrant colors of the gallery, Ethan felt a sense of peace settle within him, a peace that signaled the dawn of a new chapter in his life, one filled with love, creativity, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow.